Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? The weather in Oklahoma this time of year, it gives you the option to breathe at the expense of being warm. Like if it's cold, you're fine, but now that it's warming up, like, oh man, my face feels like a pillow. Like there's a pillow inside my face. Freaking allergies. This week's episode of The Y-Files, which is a YouTube channel that's just enormously popular. I think he's coming up on 3 million subs. It's gnarly. It's a channel that does weekly deep dives into like conspiracy theories and pieces of interesting lore that have some eyewitnesses to them. You know, he does these deep dive videos that explain, here's what we know, here's what could possibly explain it, here's what we've debunked so far. You know, he tackles the big ones like the moon landing. Was it real or was it faked? Are there pyramids under the ice in Antarctica? Are there sunken cities underwater or whatever? He finds a whole ton of really, really fascinating stories. And a lot of them are on Antarctica. This week's was no different. But without spoiling anything that happens there, it deals with a couple of stories where people saw something that was, you know, supposedly extraterrestrial or abnormal or what have you, and then government agents showed up, intimidated them into silence, and all evidence of this weird thing that they saw, which might have been a UFO or a crashed alien ship or something, just disappeared. Something done under the guise of, under the name of what's called Project Blue Book, which was not at all unlike the Men in Black type movies, where like, here come the guys in the suits to not really neuralize you, but threaten everything you hold sacred if you talk about this thing that they don't want the public to know. It was those words, Project Blue Book, which reminded me that I had never done a video on Project Notebook by Jason McQueeston. Or rather, I had recorded a video a while ago, but it was while I was trying to do a bunch of like batch recording out in the shop, and I was tired and it all came out muddled and low energy, and I was like, if I release this, like if I were to watch somebody giving a review of a book like this half awake, I wouldn't want to read the book. I'd assume that it was what put him to sleep. Let me signal this guy through. Typical Oklahoma four-way stop. Anyway, it was a fine book throughout, but it was, oddly enough, it was the epilogue that ratcheted the entire thing up 1 star. I was going to give it 3 stars by the end, which is fine. You know, 3 stars is good enough for a recommendation. But the way he ended the book, I was like, okay, that kind of reclassifies what I see the plot as, and it makes it hit differently because he ties it in with actual events. Like suddenly it becomes a secret history, like, oh, this is something that really could have happened. It's set up in the Pacific Northwest. It's a few years before Roswell, up in the SeaTac area. A couple of World War II veterans see something in the sky, aliens come and land here, and then the next thing they know, these 3 people, like, their memories have been wiped, and they're scattered all across Washington, and the government is looking for them, saying, hey, what did you see? And they ended up getting recruited into a group called, you know, Project Notebook, or I'm trying to remember now, like, frick, I read it a couple of months ago. But they end up becoming the Project Notebook. They get inducted into this government arm whose job it is to find, govern, and silence alien contact with mankind. They need to make sure that they've got a control on it so that they don't get invaded by a force that they don't understand. So it's a pretty, not run-of-the-mill, like it's better than average as far as like a Genesis story goes. Like this, it does a lot of the things that you would expect it to do, which is fine. But there is, I don't know, there's an element of surprise that I appreciate in stories, and I would have liked to have been like left hooked with something good a little bit more than I was in this. The parts that really spoke to me were like the family parts, the agents who they have to decide, like, are they gonna get married? If they're already married, are they going to have kids? Are they going to try to live the normal life while secretly doing this intense government job that they have to lie to everybody about? And what kind of life is that going to be? It's a reflection on things that people in positions of authority really do have to examine, because if they want to achieve great things, or if they want to serve on a large scale, it's usually at the expense of the closer to home scale. It's not like somebody who's a massive career politician or who has an important military position is spending several hours a day at home with their kids the way that they might if they worked in the private sector and didn't have so much pressure bearing down on them. That's kind of something that the epilogue touched on, but I'm being intentionally vague because I don't want to spoil it. It wasn't all that long of a book, and it was really well done. I thought, okay, like I said, I got to the end and I was like, oh crap, like that makes it a lot cooler than it was. Like I'm going to keep an eye on Jason. I need to figure out which of his books to read next. But definitely check out Project Notebook. Content warning for language, it gets up there on that stuff. Other than that, it's fine, and the direction that he takes the story and the way that he ends it is it's very moving, we'll say. Anyhow, that's it for now. Check the link for relevant descriptions. You can find my books on Amazon. And if you like this video, go ahead and like it, share it out to your friends, and by all means subscribe. Help me to keep growing. It's been a great couple of months, and I'd like to carry that momentum into the spring and summer. So until next time, drive safe. See you out there.